Hi, this is Chris from Ace Consulting Group here, and in this video I'm going to be explaining some simple tips and tricks and productivity shortcuts to help you navigate through Excel just a little bit faster and a bit easier. So to begin with, let's start off with some simple and basic tips. So if you want to create a new workbook, you can press Control and then N, and that will create a new workbook for you. If you want to create a new worksheet within the workbook, you can press this little thing down here where it says Insert Worksheet, or if you can see there, it also says press Shift F11, and that'll let you create multiple additional worksheets within your workbook. If you want to close your workbook, you can press Control W, and in this case I don't want to save, so I'm going to press Don't Save, and that'll close it for you. If you had wanted to save, you can press Control S, and that's going to save your workbook for you. If you want to print, you can press Control P, and that'll give you a nice preview of what you're going to be printing, and then you can press the print button up here once you want to print. If you want to move right, up, or left, or down in the cells, you can use the arrow keys, or alternatively, you can press Tab to go to the right, Shift Tab to go to the left, and Enter to go down. If you want to go down once, you can use Enter or down, but if you want to go down a whole page, you press Page Down, and that'll bring you down and down and down. If you want to go up, you press Page Up, and that'll bring you back up. If you want to get back to the very beginning of your sheet, the most top left information you entered, you can press Control Home, and that'll bring you back. In this case, it's bringing me to A2 because that's where my data starts in the database. The top row is only for classification of each column. And if you want to go to the very last thing in your worksheet, so the very bottom right entry, you can press Control End, and that's going to bring you all the way down there. Okay, if you wanted to enter the date in, let's say you're entering information and you want to enter in the date, you can press Control and the semicolon, and that'll enter in today's date. And you can do that for each line. If you do it multiple times within a cell, it's just going to keep entering and entering and entering. Okay, and let's say you wanted to copy something. So you can press Control C, which will copy, and you can see the cell has a little pattern around it to indicate it's been copied. And then you can press Control V to copy the same contents within the cell there. If you wanted to move something from one cell to another, you can press Control X, and then once again you'll see the pattern again, and Control V, and that's going to move it. That's going to move it to the new destination. If you want to undo what you just did, you can press Control Z, and that'll undo what you did, or Control Y, and that will redo the last step that you just undid. If you wanted to find something within a worksheet, you can press Control F, and that's going to open the Find tool for you, or you can type what you want. So let's say we wanted to find a certain work order. So let's say, I'm not sure if this is in here, but let's say 55300. Is that in there? Yes, it is. So it automatically takes me to 55300 for order ID. And if you press Enter again, or Find Next, it's going to take you to the next 55300. So we have multiple 55300s, and you can see it's taking us to each one. As you can see, it's getting highlighted there, and it's just going to cycle continuously. So let's close that. If you wanted to replace something within the worksheet, you can press Control H, and that's going to give you this replace tool. So you can find something if you want. So let's say we're trying to find 55300 here, and then we want to replace it with another work ID. So 55301, let's say. So what that's going to do is it's going to, if you press Replace, it's going to take this one of the 55300s and replace it. So you see it got replaced there. Or you can just do Replace All, and it'll tell you it made 2 replacements after going through the entire worksheet. And you can see, close that, you can see here all the 55300s got replaced with 55301. Okay, and then you can close that. I'm just going to undo what happened because I need that for later. Okay, so that's some of the basic stuff done. Let's get into some of the more advanced stuff. Still not too advanced, but it's very much more helpful. So if you wanted to edit the cell that's currently highlighted, you can press F2, and that's going to let you go into the cell and start editing things. If you want to undo any edits that you're doing in the cell, you can press escape, and everything you've entered there will be not counted. If you want to clear the cell contents or delete the cell, you press delete on the highlight cell, and it's going to delete it. I press Control Z there to undo what I did because I need that information for later. Now, if you want to select the entire row, you can press Shift Spacebar, and that's, as you can see, it selects everything. And if we go to the right more, it's even going to select stuff without any data into it. Okay, now if you wanted to do it for the column, you can press Control Space, and that's going to operate in a similar way. You're going to highlight everything. It's going to go quickly down, 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 and once again, it's going to highlight everything, including stuff with no data in it. But if you want to hide a row, you can do, for example, let's hide the top row, which tells us what everything is. So using what we just learned, we can select the entire row, and if we want to hide it, we can press Control 9, and that's going to hide it for us. If we want to unhide it, we can press Control Z, and that's going to show it back and undo the hide. If you want to do it for a column, we can do what we did again before. So we press Control Space to choose the entire column of the active cell that we're on, and then we can press Control 0, and that's going to hide the column. So press Control Z to undo that again. And if we want to format the cell that we're currently looking at, we can press Control 1, and that's going to bring us to this format window. So we can select what kind of information we have in the cell. I'm going to leave this as general for now, but if you're doing it anything with accounting, you can do it, put a currency in there with a certain amount of decimal places. If it's date, you can do date, percentages, where you can choose decimal places as well, and so on and so forth. Then you can also format what's in the cell, like the alignment, how everything's aligned. You can combine cells if you've highlighted more than one, and the font, the border, the color of the cell, and etc. And for those situations in which you need help, you can press F1, and there we go. We have the Excel help where you can put in questions if you need. Okay, if you have things within a cell that you want to bold or format how the text looks, you can press Control B to bold it, B to unbold it, do it again to unbold it, I mean. Control I to make it italics, and then do the same thing to undo it. And you can do Control U to underline and to undo it. So let me show that again. That's Control U. So if you can't see it right there, it's underlined. I'm going to just zoom back out. And what I'm doing right now is holding Control and going on the mouse wheel, and that'll let you zoom in and out. So I'm just going to underline that by pressing Control U on it again. If you want to choose every single thing within the worksheet, you can press Control A, and that's going to choose everything. Just click anywhere to undo that. And some other things that you can do is you can press Control and the arrow key, and that's going to bring you to the last data entry that you have in the direction you're going. So if I press Control right arrow key, it's going to bring us to the very last entry we have on the right for that row. If I press Control down, it's going to bring me to the very last entry I have in that column. Left, all the way to the left, it's going to bring me to the very leftmost entry I have, and same thing, go back up. So let me just go back to the top here, press Control Home, and now let's combine some stuff. So you can hold Shift and arrow key to highlight things in the direction you want. If you want to highlight it all the way to the end, the very last data entry you have before there's a space, you can combine that with the Control arrow key I just entered. So if we press Control, Shift, and arrow key in the direction, it's going to highlight all the cells to the very rightmost data entry. All the entries that we have to the right of the highlighted cells are just empty ones. But if we have, let's say, a space separating some stuff, so let me do this. Let's say if I copy and paste it here. So I've highlighted a bunch of cells and copied it, pressing Control C. Control V is going to copy it over. So you can see it's got value, it's saying value here. That is because we have a certain, this one, the ship date. The ship date is a column that has a formula showing it. So you can see it's referring to this column C, which is more to the left, and adding +1 onto it, and so on and so forth for each row. Because we are copying and pasting it over, we're getting this symbol value sign. And that's because it is now referring to the H column. And if we go to the H column, we can see here, H is not numerical. So you can't add a number to a word, or else it doesn't make sense. So we get this symbol here, which is the value error here. If you copy and paste it, it's going to pretend that, for example, the ship date is 3 columns over, and then add 1 to all the entries in those columns. If I copy and paste it, and then Excel interprets it again as add a number to whatever is 3 columns over. If we wanted to keep the information within ship date as is, we would not just press Control V and Control C and then Control V, which is copy and paste. We have to cut it instead. So like we did earlier, we'll cut it pressing Control X, and then we'll press Control V to paste it. And if you get something like this, it just means that it doesn't fit in the cell. So we'll double click the edge of the column, so it'll expand it, and all our information is copied over. So back to what we were doing. If you wanted to highlight an entire set of data, you press Control, Shift, and then right arrow, and that's going to give you highlighted cells all the way until there's a cell with a blank space in it. If there's information to the right of that blank space, it's not going to get highlighted. So if you want to highlight that as well, you can add to the highlighted cells you have by pressing Control, and then click on the cell you want to add, and then you can click on additional cells if you want, or you can just use the arrow keys and Shift to add again. So let me show that. Control Shift right arrow key, and then I'm going to hold Control and left click on the one I want to add, and then I can use Control Shift and the arrow key in this area now. So that's it for the Excel tips and tricks that I have. I'm going to be linking a Excel cheat sheet down at the bottom of this video in the description. So feel free to download it and print it out and put it beside you in case you want to refer back to any of the tips and tricks mentioned in this video. That's it. So thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.